Just picked up this 1985 Puch Maxi LS. It is in pretty rough condition. It's been spray bombed multiple times. It's missing the seat and a few other parts. It's been hardwired, and the wiring has been modified heavily. Coil mount is mounted to the exhaust, which is a very interesting route. Wheels have been painted gold, but before that were painted blue. So that's an interesting call there. Everything seems to be here besides the gas cap and the seat, but I need to get this washed off and we can start working on it. So let's clean this up a little bit. One of the first things I want to work on is securing this rear luggage rack. It's missing the two bolts that go into the rear fender. I don't have bolts right now, but I'm just going to use a zip tie to hold it down. And same with the front engine bolts that actually go through the frame and hold on to this. These sidebars are missing, so I'll have to get another one of those. And as you can see, these are both bent in pretty well. These are supposed to be straight across. So let's see if we can bend these back as well. On this rear luggage rack, you can see the chrome has been spray bombed as well. It's cleaning up pretty nicely just with some steel wool, but they put a heavy layer on here. So this will take a little while of hand polishing, but I'm sure it'll shine up pretty nicely. Took a bit of work, but as you can see, it's looking pretty good. There is a little bit of pitting in the chrome in some corners, but it's looking much better. Now that I cleaned up all the chrome on these side rails, I want to start working on this ignition coil. For whatever reason, this front tab was cut off this pipe, welded onto the side, and this was used as a ground and as a mounting tab. So I'm going to cut all that off and clean it up a little bit. I've gone ahead and cut this tab off and then sanded it down with a flapper wheel. I still need to remove this front tab over here, but overall it's just cleaning up the look, and we'll mount that coil up to another spot. Moving along, I will need to get this last engine bolt that mounts these side rails, but I also want to take a look at this carb. It is covered in a paste, I'm assuming to try and seal an air leak, but this whole top piece is actually loose as well. So I'm gonna see if this 14mm carb is still savable. I hope it is, but let's take it apart and see what the inside looks like. I was able to get this top plate removed off the Bing carb, and on the inside you can see these threads are pretty much sheared off on the top, but the lower half are still there. So I need to get a longer set of, I believe, M4 screws for this top plate, and it should seal back up. I also need to spend some time and really scrape this, I guess, gasket sealer off of here. It can come off, it's gonna take a bit of extra work. But let's clean this up and get it back together. Here's what the carb looks like after it's been pulled out. You can see it's been spray bombed, or at least partially, and then that goo is all the way around the carb. The cool thing is this is a square port top end and a square port 14mm original Bing intake and a 14mm original Bing carb. So that's pretty cool. Let's clean this up and get it to run back on. I was able to get all that goo off and take off a lot of that spray paint, so it's at least looking a lot better now. I will need a new gasket on the bottom. As you see, this one's peeling off, but I've also cleaned the top plate just to clean off all of the excess goo and all the individual parts as well. So I just need to probably clean the bowl and put a new gasket on and put it back together. I took off the float bowl to get a peek inside, and you can see it is crusty in here. So this will definitely need some attention before we even try to start it. Luckily the jet is actually clear, but I still need to pull out the atomizer and clean everything out. Same with this bowl, but Once that's ready to go, we'll just put this back on and move on to the next thing. After getting this float pin and float needle removed, you can kind of see what the rest of the carb body looks like. It has definitely accumulated some crud in here. I'm going to be using a wire wheel, some steel wool, and a small flathead screwdriver to clean this all out. Once it's cleaned out, I'm going to be using some 2-stroke gas to just wash it off a little bit and then put it all back together. Now that we have the bowl and the body of the carb cleaned out, at least better than it was, I'm going to be working on the atomizer. This atomizer also needs quite a bit of work. It has quite a layer of crud accumulated on it. I'm just going to run this through the wire wheel, and that should help it out quite a bit. As you can tell, we got this cleaned up pretty well. Just about 10 or 15 seconds on the wire wheel, knocked off all of that crust. And you can see we are rocking a 2.17 atomizer with a number 70 jet. That seems to be pretty good jetting for the aftermarket circuit pipe. So once we put this back together, it should start right up. I picked up some stainless steel M4 by 16 millimeter screws. I actually had to cut them down to about 14 millimeters or so. And the original one is about 12. So we should have a couple more extra threads. Using that, it should be able to actually catch the threads inside of this carb body and be able to tighten down that top hat. So once these are installed, I'll move on to installing this last engine bolt and these rear luggage rack bolts. So let's get these all installed. I'm super happy how this 14 millimeter original Bing and intake cleaned up. I have those new stainless steel Phillips head screws with the longer shaft on them to go into the carb body and actually grip up. So this top plate is very sturdy. I still have to tighten the throttle bendy, but other than that, the carb is installed and ready to go. I do also have this top engine mount bolt installed, which holds on these side rails. They are bent inwards, but I'm pretty sure I could fix them up pretty quickly, and having this thing look really nice. I was able to install these rear rack bolts to these rear fender. So now that that's installed, it gives me a little bit more leverage to try to fix this rear rack. As you can see, it slightly bends down right at the end. So again, the classic mini sledgehammer and a 2x4, and we should be able to bend this back up just ever so slightly. This thing came out freaking sweet. All the lines are matching up nicely. So another rack saved. Now let's move on to the next thing. I think we're gonna be working on pedals. Should have shown the setup before, but this is what I'm using to straighten up these side racks. I just have a 2x4 with 2 small pieces of wood screwed to each end, and I'm using a wood clamp, and I'm tightening it down, putting pressure just on the center, and it's straightening up this side rail. As you can see, this side has been untouched, and there's a bend right at the front. I'm just removing that bend and straightening up both sides. I've gone ahead and finished this first side rail, and you can see how straight it is. There's also no damage to the chrome from hitting it with a hammer or anything like that. I'm just using simple hand tools and a 2x4. So let's get this other side complete and move on to the pedals. This side's gonna need a little bit more work, but as you can see, we have it pretty straight. There's a pretty good kink right here, so I'm slowly putting pressure on this and getting it straight. Moving along on this Maxi LS, I've disassembled the pedal cranks and pedal arms and straightened them in a vise using a cheater bar. Slightly polished them up on a wire wheel and just gotta put them back on. But did the original pedal arms, and they are back to being factory straight. I'm gonna go ahead and start working on this rat's nest of a wiring harness. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be very much, but I'm gonna unravel it and see what we got. Now that I got it all unraveled, I don't even know why. Like, why? Just fucking why did you do this? So I'm just going to take all of this off and build a brand new wiring harness. This is horrible. Peeled off all the ghetto tape, and you guys can see the quality, absolute beautiful quality of soldering. So I don't think I need to touch this. No, just kidding. This is all terrible. I'm gonna cut all of this off and put a new terminal block, and should be good there. Now that we've trimmed off all that stuff, all of that, we're looking a lot better and ready for a wire terminal block. Still need to build out the rest of the wiring harness, but it should at least have a fresh start here. As you can see, I have remade the wiring harness. It goes all the way up, splits off, goes to the headlight over here, and then goes all the way up to the kill switch. And then I do have, what's it called, a brake light switch wired up as well. Only thing I didn't get done is to the actual tail light. I forgot to order white wire, and I need a little bit more of this green one. But yeah, nice and clean little wire block there. On the other side, let's pull this out. Can't even pull it out. Let's move it over a little bit. On this side, you can see we got an original coil mounted up. And we got new spark plug wire and spark plug and new wiring all throughout. So everything's good there. Also went ahead and timed the bike, set it at 16 degrees currently, and probably gonna push it over to 17 and get it ready for a 70cc kit. But that's where we are with the bike right now. I did go ahead and manage to find a seat. This seat was just a generic aftermarket seat, but it was set up for a Tomos. I came in and redid the brackets both here and on the back for it to sit nicely. And I think it complements this rack really, really well. So that is awesome. Also came here and made sure that this throttle is nice and snappy. Oops, nice and snappy. So everything is ready to go. Headlight is hard wired, so it's always gonna be on. And like I said, we got a kill switch here, and we have a single brake light switch. So no dual brake light switch, just a single one. Just simplifying the wiring in general. But as you can see, super, super cool looking bike. Let's take it outside and get it started. Got it started up for the first time. Just letting it idle out. It's idling perfectly. This thing just wants to go. I think we got a runner, that's for sure. Look at our light. Alright, gotta tune this up a little bit, but this is a sweet bike. Ended up cutting down the brake, front and rear brake cables, and I got them all nicely matched up. But this bike turned out so nice. Probably gonna put a 70cc kit on later on in its life, but still.